of the Old Testament. Just as an aside, I do use the term Old Testament. I'm familiar with the discussion about Hebrew Bible and First Testament and things like this. But historically, the fact is that the Christian Old Testament was never simply the Hebrew Bible. And as long as we're aware that the Old Testament continues to have value and worth, I don't have a problem with the term. So we've Googled it. Now let's pretend we're really old-fashioned and we remember things like books. Let's go look at a book, see if we can find something. Well, we might start with an introductory text to the Old Testament, a study of the Old Testament, or maybe a book on the theology of the Old Testament. Well, if we look at these, with a couple of exceptions, we'll find that the word Messianic, or even Messianism, hardly appears at all in the table of contents. If you go to the indexes, you will find a reference, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 references here or there. So we have a difference between maybe, say, the major textbooks and theology, so you might have 50 references, as opposed to 200,000. So obviously there's a kind of a gap here, maybe better, a chasm. Think of it as maybe 2 rooms sealed off from each other. One on one side, one on the other, with a locked door in between them. Each one sort of goes its own separate ways, the popular, more fundamentalist understanding, and that of the scholarly mainstream. One place where the two sort of collide would be especially in parish Bible courses. People begin to learn about the Bible, and these two things sort of come together head on. This, in fact, is where this course began. I have good friends who live in Utah. Let's call them Tim and Dorothy. And the last time I visited them, they're both mainstream Presbyterians, very active in their church and very active in Bible study. And over breakfast, Dorothy asked me, do you take requests? They have a number of Now You Know Media courses and have used them. And I said, well, I don't know. Let's try it. Ask me. So she said, what about the Messianic prophecies of Jesus? This comes up a lot in classes, and people have these questions. And I thought, well, that sounds pretty good. So when I got home, I ran it past the head here at Now You Know Media. He gave it thumbs up. And here we are. So this course began actually in the coming together, the clashing of these two approaches. Another symptom of the gap between the two, I ran into when I tried to draw up a bibliography for the course. Books I can recommend, you can go into for more detail to fill out certain topics. And on the one hand, I can find a few, literally a handful of short articles, maybe several columns in a Bible dictionary. But then the other works are all very advanced, very technical, full of lots of Hebrew and Greek and textual criticism and things like this. There's really nothing in the middle, sort of an intermediate step to begin to get into and to get some ideas, something that you could use, for example, in a course, or in a survey course. So the main works are technical works, and I'd like to mention 3. They'll be in the bibliography, but they're very important, and I'll refer to them different times as we go along. The first sort of groundbreaking work was produced by a Norwegian scholar named Sigmund Mowinckel. He died in 1965. The book was entitled He That Cometh, the Messiah Concept in the Old Testament and Later Judaism. It appeared first in Norwegian in 1951, in English in 1956. It was recently reprinted in 2005 with a preface by another scholar, John Collins, sort of updating it and making some sort of comments on the work and when it appeared. I'll just make 2 comments about the work. It still is a major work. It's been called one of the great books of Old Testament scholarship of the 20th century. The first, as you might expect, is that he interacts with the scholars.